Rosa Delgado handed 3 years of evidence to the billionaire because she mistook him for a maintenance trainee. It was nearly 10 at night inside the northern distribution building of Calderon Systems, where conveyor belts still moved packaged medical equipment toward loading bays, while the office floors above had gone dark. Rosa was pushing her cleaning cart past a side corridor when she saw a casually dressed man crouched beneath a flickering emergency light, examining the loose cover with his phone flashlight. A 4-year-old girl stood beside him in a yellow safety vest and child-sized hearing protectors, holding 2 fingers of his hand. Neither wore an executive badge. No managers followed them. Rosa assumed the man was new facility staff, perhaps a trainee sent after hours because repairs were cheaper when production slowed. Her stomach tightened before she made the decision. The small notebook beneath her cart towels had a cracked black cover, softened corners, and pages swollen from taped photographs, copied work order numbers, and 3 years of dates. She had almost destroyed it twice. Her supervisor had warned employees against photographing restricted areas. Her health insurance covered her son's asthma medication. One accusation could cost more than the notebook was worth. Then the little girl pointed toward a red fire exit sign partly hidden behind stacked cartons. "That door is sleeping," she said. The man turned. The boxes blocked half the exit and confirmed the entry Rosa had written 6 nights earlier. She pulled out the notebook and pressed it into his hands. "Please get this to someone who can actually do something, I have tried every proper way." He looked at the cover, then at her. "What is it? Everything they keep saying is fixed." Rosa glanced toward the security desk. "Do not give it back to my supervisor. It will disappear again." The man asked, "Who should receive it?" Rosa and "Someone above the people saving money by pretending this place is safe." He opened the notebook. The first visible page was dated 3 years earlier. Dozens more followed. The man was Adrian Mercer, 41, founder and chief executive of Calderon Systems, though almost everyone in the company knew him only in tailored suits, on annual broadcasts, or in photographs beside new facilities. His daughter, Lila, was with him because her regular childcare arrangement had failed after a sitter became ill. Adrian had been returning from a nearby medical appointment and decided to show Lila where the company stored the devices she had seen in one of his presentations. He had wanted a brief private visit without managers polishing floors, moving equipment, or rehearsing answers. He entered through the side employee entrance using his executive access card beneath a plain jacket. Rosa saw none of that. Adrian had built the company from 1 rented workshop into 14 facilities and believed its strongest principle was safety. Quarterly dashboards showed declining incidents, maintenance costs under control, and audit scores above target. Regional directors described the northern building as a model site. He had visited it 4 times in 2 years, each during scheduled tours. On every visit, lines were painted, aisles cleared, workers selected for conversation, and inspection boards updated. The notebook in his hands described a different building. The entries were not dramatic accusations. They were observations. February 4th, 11:20 p.m., exposed wire behind packing line 6, supervisor informed, work order 31882. February 11th, same wire covered with tape, not enclosed. March 2, fire extinguisher missing from west stairwell after inspection tag removed. March 17, chemical container leaking beneath waste cage, absorbent material placed around it, container remained until morning. May 6, forklift reverse alarm silent in loading bay 3, operator reported it, machine returned to service. Each entry included a time, place, who had been told, and whether the condition remained. Some pages held tiny printed photographs, taken with Rosa's old phone and trimmed at her kitchen table. Others contained names of workers who described near misses, but feared signing official statements. Adrian closed the notebook when footsteps approached. Rosa reached for it instinctively. Maybe I should not have given you that. He did not return it. Why? Because if you are new, they will tell you I exaggerate. Then they will ask why a cleaner photographs equipment. I cannot lose this job. Lila stepped toward a wet patch near Rosa's cart. Rosa moved the mop handle across the path and said gently, "Stay behind the yellow line, sweetheart." She peeled a reflective safety sticker from a supply sheet and offered it only after looking at Adrian for permission. Lila placed it on her vest. "You know every broken light," she said. Rosa gave a tired smile. "I work when the building is quiet enough to notice them." Adrian asked Rosa's name and shift. She hesitated before answering. He told her he would read the notebook and speak to no local supervisor that night. That promise did not reassure her. Promises made by junior workers disappeared even faster than complaints. After Rosa moved on, Adrian did not call the facility director. He walked with Lila through the areas listed in the first 10 pages. The blocked fire exit was real. A stair rail marked repaired and the digital maintenance system shifted under his hand. One emergency light worked only when he tapped the casing. In the chemical storage area, a container noted 2 weeks earlier had been replaced, but stains remained beneath the shelf, and no secondary tray had been installed. One notebook entry was outdated. A damaged guard on a wrapping machine had been properly replaced the previous month. Another described a hallway obstruction that no longer existed. The imperfections made the record more credible. Rosa was not constructing a flawless case. She was recording what she saw. Adrian asked a night warehouse employee where the nearest working fire extinguisher was. The man pointed toward the west stairwell, then found the bracket empty. He immediately corrected himself and said there was another unit across the loading floor. When Adrian asked whether the missing extinguisher had been reported, the employee glanced at the ceiling camera and said, "Maintenance knows." That phrase appeared 14 times in Rosa's notebook. Adrian called only one person, the head of an independent safety firm his company had never used. He requested an unannounced audit beginning before dawn and instructed the firm to report directly to the board's compliance committee. He sent photographs of 3 hazards without naming Rosa. Then he brought Lila back toward the offices. As they passed the loading bay, a supervisor spotted them and stopped so abruptly that his radio struck his belt. "Mr. Mercer?" Rosa was emptying a bin nearby. She turned at the name. The color left her face. The supervisor straightened. "We were not informed you were visiting." Adrian saw Rosa look at the notebook in his hand. Then at the nearest exit, as if calculating whether leaving now would make everything worse. "You are the CEO," she said. "Yes, I thought you were maintenance, I know." She stepped closer, voice low. "Give it back, please. I cannot. I did not know who you were. I would never have bypassed management if I had known." Adrian looked at her. "That sentence is the first thing in this building that frightens me more than the notebook." The supervisor asked what notebook they meant. Adrian answered that no local manager would question Rosa, change her schedule, contact her family, search her locker, or discuss her reporting until independent counsel and an employee advocate were present. Rosa did not relax. She had heard versions of non-retaliation language in annual training. One worker who complained had kept his job while losing overtime, preferred shifts, and access to better equipment. Protection written in policy could still disappear through 100 small decisions. "I want someone with me before I answer questions," she said. "You will have that. And my photographs? They will be reviewed for safety evidence, not used to discipline you. You cannot promise what everyone below you will do." "No," Adrian said. "I can create consequences if they try." Rosa studied him as though testing whether he understood how limited that assurance sounded. "I need this job next month, not only tomorrow." Adrian nodded. "Then the process has to protect next month." The unannounced auditors arrived at 4:30 in plain vehicles. By then, Regional Facilities Director Martin Kessler had been alerted that an external team was on site, but not why. Kessler reached the building before sunrise wearing a pressed shirt and a calm expression. He had managed 5 major facilities for 9 years, delivered low operating costs, reduced reported lost time injuries, and kept production moving through labor shortages and supply disruptions. Adrian had praised him publicly more than once. Kessler listened as the lead auditor explained that no area was to be prepared before inspection. He asked whether a triggering incident had occurred. Adrian said only that credible concerns required verification. Kessler replied that every industrial site contained minor defects and that unannounced visitors unfamiliar with production could misread temporary conditions. His point was partly true. A pallet could block an aisle for 90 seconds during active loading without representing long-term neglect. Machine guards were sometimes removed during authorized maintenance. Repairs had to be scheduled around production. A photograph without context could exaggerate risk. The audit therefore examined patterns, not isolated images. Work order histories showed that dozens of repairs were closed within hours using the code "temporary correction complete," though no follow-up order was created. Emergency light tests were recorded as completed on dates when the responsible technician's badge showed he worked at another facility. Fire exits appeared clear in inspection photographs taken early on scheduled audit mornings, but were repeatedly obstructed during peak shipping periods. Complaint emails sent to the safety mailbox had been automatically rerouted to local supervisors, allowing managers named in complaints to resolve and close them. Forklift faults were reclassified from safety defects to operator observations, removing them from compliance dashboards. Chemical storage violations were corrected before inspections and returned afterward because proper storage reduced usable floor space. Rosa sat in an interview room with an independent employee advocate and kept both hands around a paper cup she never drank from. She explained that she began the notebook after watching formal complaints disappear. She did not pretend to understand engineering standards. When she saw exposed wiring, she wrote that wires were visible. When a forklift alarm made no sound, she recorded the machine number and time. When a worker said he had nearly been struck, she recorded his words but marked them unverified unless she had seen the event. 3 years earlier, maintenance technician Harold Wynn had repeatedly reported a broken barrier protecting an electrical service zone near the loading floor. Workers stepped around the exposed area during rush periods. Harold raised his voice at a staff meeting after 2 work orders were closed without replacement. Management documented him as disruptive. Weeks later, he was dismissed after leaving a tool cabinet unlocked and arguing with a supervisor. The termination file contained enough warnings to look defensible. No document said he was fired for reporting safety concerns. The lesson reached every night worker anyway. Rosa had 2 children then, one still at home. She needed stable hours and health benefits. She began documenting silently because speaking loudly had cost Harold his career. "I thought if something serious happened, somebody would need proof that they knew," she said. Then she looked at the worn notebook on the table. "I kept waiting for the day the notebook would be necessary. Then I realized that meant I was waiting for someone to get hurt." She felt no pride in the sentence. She had watched hazards remain. She had once stood beside a leaking container and considered calling the fire department, then decided the smell was not strong enough and feared causing a shutdown. She had almost burned the notebook after her supervisor found her writing near an electrical closet. Silence had protected her family and helped protect the system. Both truths remained. The audit uncovered a concealed near miss from 8 months earlier. Forklift operator Darius Cole had been reversing from loading bay 3 when the machine's alarm failed. Warehouse worker Ben Alvarez stepped into the lane while carrying labels and moved only after another employee shouted. Ben struck a steel post while turning, injuring his shoulder. The medical record described a minor strain. The incident report classified the cause as pedestrian inattention and stated the forklift alarm tested normally afterward. Rosa's notebook showed that she recorded the silent alarm 12 days earlier, informed her supervisor, and copied the work order number. The order had been closed with the note, unable to reproduce fault. 2 days after Ben's injury, the same alarm was replaced quietly without reopening the incident. Ben agreed to speak only after receiving written protection. He said Kessler's operations manager encouraged him to avoid describing the event as a forklift collision because no contact occurred. Ben accepted the classification after being told a formal equipment incident could suspend loading operations and reduce everyone's overtime. His shoulder healed. The record remained misleading. Maintenance technician Priya Shah became the second supporting witness. She showed auditors photographs of temporary repairs she had been instructed to list as complete. Tape covering wiring until replacement conduit arrived, a stair rail secured with bolts unsuitable for long-term use, and a machine guard fastened in a way that allowed quick removal during production jams. Priya had objected to closing the work orders, but was told open items damaged the facility's performance score. We did perform repairs, she said. The problem was pretending temporary meant finished. Former night supervisor Calvin Price provided the third account. He had left the company voluntarily the previous year. He remembered Harold Wynn's dismissal and admitted managers began using the phrase behavioral pattern whenever an employee raised repeated concerns. Nobody told us to fire whistleblowers, Calvin said. We were told to document attitude, insubordination, attendance, anything that made future decisions easier. He also described announced audits. A week before each visit, blocked storage moved to rented trailers. Damaged equipment was tagged out, and selected employees rehearsed safety answers. After inspectors left, peak volume practices returned. Adrian initially believed Kessler personally created the deception. The deeper review showed something harder. Kessler had suppressed reports and falsified repair status, but the company's executive incentives rewarded exactly the appearance he produced. Regional bonuses depended on staying below maintenance budgets, reducing reported incidents, avoiding lost work time events, and maintaining uninterrupted output. Safety dashboards displayed incident totals in red and closed work orders in green. They did not distinguish between a hazard corrected and a complaint reclassified out of existence. Executives celebrated a 38% decline in anonymous reports as evidence of improving culture. No one asked whether employees had stopped trusting the system. Emails from Adrian's own leadership meetings contained phrases like zero disruption, cost discipline, and hold local leaders accountable for incident reduction. None instructed managers to hide danger. Together, they made low numbers more visibly valuable than honest reporting. Kessler had not invented the priorities. He exploited priorities senior leadership designed. At home that evening, Adrian reviewed the dashboard he had praised during the previous quarter. Lila sat beside him, drawing on scrap paper. She recognized Rosa's reflective sticker still attached to her vest and asked, why did nobody fix it when she told them? Adrian could have explained work order systems, budget constraints, or management failure. None answered the child's question. Because people made it easier not to listen, he said. Lila returned to drawing. The simple answer felt more accurate than the polished report on his screen. Rosa's fear increased as the audit expanded. Coworkers whispered that the facility might close. One asked whether she understood how many jobs depended on keeping production running. A supervisor who had once been friendly stopped speaking to her. Company communications requested an interview for an internal story about courage. Rosa refused. Sure. I did not write the notebook because I wanted my name on anything, she said. I wrote it because the hazards already had dates. She worried that executives would praise her publicly, fix the most visible items, sure, and forget her after attention moved elsewhere. She worried her photographs violated policy. She worried the company would remove Kessler, rename the reporting system, and leave the incentives untouched. Sure. When Adrian asked whether she trusted the review, she said, I trust that you are interested now. I do not know what happens when you become interested in something else. Sure. The answer embarrassed him because it was reasonable. Kessler received the audit findings and responded through a formal employment review. He did not deny every condition. Sure. He argued that many notebook entries were minor, repairs had to fit production schedules, and immediate shutdowns could threaten contracts and jobs. Calderon Systems demanded aggressive cost control. Sure. Senior executives praised his budgets and output. Temporary repairs were common in industrial operations. Employees sometimes bypassed marked walkways, blocked exits briefly, sure, or failed to report faults through correct channels. He produced records showing several hazards were eventually corrected and pointed to years without a fatality or major injury. Sure. Those facts prevented the review from turning him into a caricature. The facility had not been collapsing unnoticed. Most days, thousands of tasks were completed safely. Kessler had funded some improvements, sure, supported training, and personally intervened after serious concerns. Yet evidence also showed choices beyond reasonable prioritization. He ordered complaint emails rerouted away from corporate compliance. Sure. He approved false completion codes. He misclassified Ben's near miss after reading Rosa's earlier report. Sure. He used retaliation language against persistent complainants and prepared sites specifically to mislead announced auditors. His bonus increased after maintenance spending fell and reported incidents declined. Sure. In the private executive safety review, the notebook rested beside the independent audit, work order histories, budget spreadsheets, bonus criteria, incident records, and witness statements. No cameras were present. Sure. Rosa attended with her advocate, but chose not to sit beside Adrian. Kessler faced the board compliance chair and two independent reviewers. He said, You asked me for fewer incidents, lower costs, sure, and uninterrupted output. I gave you all three. Adrian did not deny it. You gave me numbers that made risk invisible. I rewarded them because I preferred not to ask what they concealed. Sure. Kessler replied that senior leaders wanted clean dashboards, not explanations about why old buildings required expensive maintenance. He believed he was protecting contracts and payroll. Sure. Adrian said protecting work did not authorize false records or retaliation. Kessler argued that every delayed repair involved trade-offs and that auditors could recommend perfection without running the site. Sure. The lead auditor agreed perfection was impossible. Deliberate concealment was not. Adrian accepted his own role before consequences were announced. Sure. He had approved bonus structures that treated low incident numbers as success, without measuring whether workers trusted reporting. He had visited only prepared facilities and called those tours engagement. Sure. He had allowed compliance summaries to replace access to employees. None of that excused Kessler's decisions. It explained why those decisions advanced his career. Sure. After the independent employment review confirmed deliberate suppression, falsified closure status, and retaliation, Kessler was terminated. Sure. Two supervisors received discipline and retraining based on their involvement. Harold Wynn's case and other retaliation files were reopened. Sure. Adrian rejected a press release portraying one bad manager as the complete problem. The company's reforms extended beyond the northern building. Sure. Serious safety reports would go directly to independent compliance staff instead of local managers. Anonymous reports could not be deleted or closed by the facility named in them. Sure. Deadlines and responses would remain visible to employees. High-risk unresolved items required executive review. Random unannounced audits replaced most scheduled tours. Bonus criteria changed from simple incident reduction to verified hazard correction, reporting participation, and retaliation-free outcomes. A lower incident count would no longer be rewarded unless independent measures showed reporting confidence remained stable. The changes immediately created uncomfortable results. Reports increased across the company. Maintenance costs rose. 2 production lines paused for repairs. Executives who once celebrated declining complaint numbers worried that the new system made performance look worse. Adrian told them the older numbers had looked better because risk was hidden. Reform did not make the company safer overnight. It made danger harder to keep invisible. The new reporting process was tested sooner than anyone expected. A week after launch, a packer submitted an anonymous notice about a damaged guard on line 4. Under the old system, the complaint would have returned to the local supervisor and vanished inside a closed work order. This time, independent compliance received it simultaneously. Production paused for 40 minutes while Priya inspected the machine and found that the guard had been loosened repeatedly to clear jams faster. No one was injured. The delay cost money, and one manager complained that the response was excessive. Rosa attended the review and asked whether the guard had been designed to remain in place. When Priya said yes, the argument ended. The repair required a redesigned feed mechanism, not another warning to operators. Adrian saw the report during his weekly review and noticed something absent from the old dashboards. The names of 3 workers who had supported the complaint rather than avoided it. The incident total rose by 1, but the unresolved risk count fell. For the first time, a worse-looking number described a safer decision made openly together. Rosa was offered a paid place on an employee safety advisory committee and training to become a certified worker safety representative. She asked whether the committee could escalate unresolved hazards independently or merely recommend action to the same managers. Human Resources described the title, meeting schedule, and additional pay. Rosa replied, "I do not need a better chair in the same room if nobody has to listen." The final charter gave the committee documented authority to refer unresolved risks directly to the compliance board and request independent inspection. Rosa accepted only after her advocate reviewed the protection language. She kept her overnight cleaning position during training because she did not want sudden visibility to erase the work that taught her the building. Back pay was issued for hours previously reduced after complaints. She asked that similar cases be reviewed before the company praised her. Adrian changed his behavior without pretending he could personally inspect every rail and wire. He began visiting facilities without advance notice, meeting overnight workers, and reviewing unresolved high-risk reports rather than summary scores alone. He asked executives who benefited when incident numbers fell. He made retaliation reviews part of leadership evaluations. During a company broadcast, he acknowledged that senior leadership had built incentives that rewarded quiet numbers over honest reporting. He named no heroic CEO and no single villain. Workers had exposed the truth. Independent auditors verified it. Leadership's responsibility was to stop punishing reality for being expensive. Several weeks later, Rosa conducted her first official safety walkthrough beside a trained independence inspector. She wore a new committee badge above her cleaning uniform and still carried the old black notebook. Workers who once whispered concerns now pointed openly toward a damaged loading barrier. The inspector photographed it, logged the report, and gave them a tracking number they could see. Adrian arrived without advance notice, again dressed casually. Lila walked beside him in her yellow vest, the reflective sticker still fixed near the pocket. Rosa recognized him immediately this time. He looked at the notebook. "Why do you still carry that when we have a new reporting system?" Rosa opened it. The final old page listed unresolved hazards recorded before the reforms. The next page was blank. The system is new, she said. Trust is not. What goes on the blank page? Rosa looked across the warehouse. A forklift operator had stopped to show the inspector a damaged barrier, instead of steering around it and remaining quiet. What happens after people stop being afraid to report? Leela noticed Rosa's badge. Now people listen. Rosa closed the notebook. Now they have to answer.